welcome to Roundtable on Telil Community Television. I'm your host, Adam Cook. On this week's show, we're talking about food insecurity in our schools. I'm going to speak to the head of the Rural Communities Foundation of Nova Scotia about a program that her organization is launching to try to ease child poverty situations in public schools around the province. And you're also going to hear from a prominent Nova Scotia musician who is very familiar to our Telil viewers and who has lent his voice to the Food in Schools initiative. We're also going to catch up on some items from the latest Committee of the Whole meeting for Richmond Municipal Council. You're going to hear about everything from the county's housing needs to the latest developments on an increasing deer population, and you'll meet two new staff members for the municipality, one of whom is sitting in a brand new post created to spark community development in Richmond County. But we begin with an update on a situation that first arose just a couple of years ago regarding a former school building in Evanston. The one-time West Richmond Education Centre has been targeted as a potential housing development, not just for those in the medical profession, but for all citizens across the county. Well, it looks like we may finally get some movement on that file, and as you're about to hear, some councillors have some other ideas for how the Evanston school building could be used. To tee things up, here is the CAO of Richmond County, Troy McCulloch, as introduced by the Warden of Richmond County, Amanda Mumbercat.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is an update on the former West Richmond Education Building. And again, I'm going to hand that over to you, Troy.
Thank you, Warden. It's just to let everyone know we're about 12 pages in on a RFP that we're putting together for the Walter Faugier West Richmond School for council to entertain proposals for that facility. Once we have it ready, I'd like to have it to you guys in December to look at, to release in January, so that we can start entertaining proposals through the winter. So hopefully we have a successful developer to come along and they'll be ready to go in the spring. But you guys will get a chance to see the RFP first to make sure it aligns to the initiatives of the council, and so that we can move forward with repurposing that facility.
Thank you, Troy. I did want, that's great news that we're making some moves on that building. I did want to ask, I'm looking at you, Councillor Melanie Sampson, because you had forwarded some information about a housing project in, I think it was the Yarmouth area. I don't know if you wanted to kind of speak to that in the context of the old school.
Well, just that article that I had sent to you just had a very interesting idea. Like in that case, I think the municipality actually did take over the project and convert an old school or old schools into some affordable housing, and I certainly wouldn't propose that as a municipality that we proceed in that direction, but that's certainly been a use that they're looking to do with those facilities. So I think that's very much in line with the idea that we've had for so long about what we'd like to see happen there. So I'm very encouraged by your work on the project, and thank you for that, and look forward to seeing that proposal when you're ready.
More of a statement, I guess, and we brought it up at our recreation committee meeting. It's one of those things that the island in general is always looking for spots for, indoor racquetball or indoor basketball or something else. So it was just a thought that, if the building was pretty much completely stripped, it might be able to be used or converted into something for indoor recreation sports. Because we're always looking, we're going through the schools and we're going through the halls and we're going through everywhere else, but it would be nice to have one multi-use facility, and the size of that facility might be a perfect spot.
Certainly something that we can take into consideration for sure.
Now, as you've just heard, the former West Richmond Education Centre building in Evanston could fill some housing needs for Richmond County in the future. Well, a recent province-wide study has taken a look at the housing needs not only of Richmond County, but municipalities from one end of Nova Scotia to the other. The Municipal Housing Needs Assessment was released by the provincial government earlier this fall, and this past Monday's Committee of the Whole meeting for Richmond Municipal Council gave the municipality the opportunity to take a look at the figures that are contained in this needs assessment. What are they going to do about it, and how are they going to get that information out to the public? Let's find out.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is correspondence for information purposes. And there were a few pieces. One was regarding the Municipal Housing Needs Report. So thank you, CAO, for sharing that with us. It's an interesting read for those who haven't had a chance. There were some corrections that needed to be made in the original one, a little bit of reference to other regions, but that has since been corrected. I do want to note they refused to make a correction on the service-based count project that forms part of the basis of the data collection and the data analysis in the report. That service-based count project was conducted in the Eastern Zone by the Affordable Housing Association, as noted, but also with the leadership of the Straight Richmond Housing Matters Coalition, and for some reason they weren't interested in making that correction, but definitely wanted to note it here because I know several of the members of that coalition put a lot of work into that service-based count, and I want to maybe take the opportunity to thank them again for that. So the housing report is available now, and I guess up to us to decide how we want to treat it. We can kind of leave it on the agenda. It is for information purposes. My feeling is we probably want to put it up on our website, share it publicly, but would kind of look for some direction from council on that.
That was certainly what my hope was when we discussed it at a recent meeting, and it was still embargoed at the time. My hope was that once we did receive it, that we would make it fully public.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. Any further discussion on this?
It'd be fascinating to see going forward some of the updates on it, because I was just thinking it was kind of just unusual timing, I think, around COVID and everything else and some of the changes we've seen. Because as far as permitting goes, it's shot way up since 2021 and actually probably, skews a lot of these numbers. And that may be temporary as well, but it would be interesting to see the changes going forward as compared to what the predictions were in here.
Yeah, it's a great point. It would be nice if we had some consideration from the province that maybe this could be a baseline and that we do this type of exercise a couple of years, if not every year, because I do think the landscape is changing really, really rapidly. But in the meantime, if folks are in agreement, perhaps we could publish this on our website and maybe do a little social media post to let members of the public know that it's there. I think there are some developers in the region who would be very interested to see it. So everyone's okay with that?
No, I agree that we should have it on our website for sure and share it. But I read this document and just want to share some numbers with the public this evening. I mean, yeah. So you're looking at a gap of like 370 units as of right now, right? Yeah. And they're saying by 2027 you're going to need 515 new units. Right, so that's an alarming number. That's two alarming numbers, right? It's saying that public housing wise, we have 117 housing units. 26 of them are for families, and 91 of them are for seniors. That make up the 117. So going back to our discussion about West Richmond and developers. Not sure how many people know about the new Municipal Capital Growth Fund that our Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, John Lohr, just announced. That's like a $32 million one-time investment for population growth and housing incentives, right? So when you're talking developers in our region, we got to share this information with them. We got to share these municipal capital growth funds. We got to share our CCBF options, our SSGF options, and I think we got to get the ball rolling when it comes to getting on board with getting these units built. We're not going to see 515, but we got to get the ball rolling, in my opinion, right? So, you look at groups like the Anti-Inish Affordable Housing Society. They're a nonprofit. You look at Guysborough that just transferred over some land to the Housing Trust of Nova Scotia to build public housing for healthcare professionals, right? So, I think we gotta take these numbers into consideration, and we gotta move forward ASAP, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. I totally agree. The numbers are alarming, and I think the sooner we get this information out to the public, the better, frankly, because I do think there's a role for private sector. There's also going to be a role for the nonprofit sector, and that's why I'm really glad that Council in the past has supported the go forward to develop a nonprofit housing association like the Antigonish Affordable Housing Association. We don't have one of those here. So this is what we need to get in place to make sure that those other segments of the market, affordable housing, second stage housing, et cetera, are available here in this region, right? So
it's not often that we have musicians interviewed here on our Tell Ill News programs, but a prominent Nova Scotia musician has taken on a leadership role to help bring food into schools and ease the burden that child poverty can put on so many families. Dave Gunning from Pictou County has a shelf full of East Coast Music Awards and Music Nova Scotia Awards, as well as 2 Juno Award nominations. But now he's lending his face and his name to the Dave Gunning Zero Hunger Fund, which is part of a program initiative by the Rural Communities Foundation of Nova Scotia to be able to bring more food into schools and into classrooms to be able to assist young families who are struggling at the moment. We're going to hear from Dave Gunning as part of our next piece of interview footage, and we're going to also speak to Penny Day. She is the Executive Director of the Rural Communities Foundation of Nova Scotia. It oversees the Dave Gunning Zero Hunger Fund as well as the Free Store program for Nova Scotia schools. So let's get our conversation about food insecurity going with Dave Gunning and Penny Day right now. Can you tell us a bit about how this came together and why you feel it's an important program to have going right now?
For sure. What we as the Rural Communities Foundation of Nova Scotia we're a foundation that offers programming and granting all across Nova Scotia. But the first thing we do before we even get into any type of granting is to listen to community and find out what's going on. And obviously in the news, in the paper, on radio, we hear a lot about food insecurity and the rising cost of food, and also people that are in a severe food insecurity situation. And a principal who is on our board of directors brought this forward and said that they opened up a free store in their school in New Germany, and really wanted to ensure that other schools had this program available to them. And when we started doing some digging and listening in community, we found out that quite a lot of schools around Nova Scotia have what's called a school free store. Sometimes they're called comfort closets. They have different names on them, but what they are discrete store locations in the school where students and sometimes parents can go in and access the supplies that they need. And it's a fantastic program. It is just one tool in the toolkit of fighting hunger in Nova Scotia. And what we found also when we did some more digging was that most of these free stores are supplied by teachers themselves, by parents. And so they live a bit on a razor edge of making sure that they can supply the needs of the students in their schools. So this was something that we really wanted to put together and offer free stores available to all schools that want them or need them, or if they have them, offer the ability for them to top up the supplies that they need. And so we first of all partnered with Bruce Guthrow, and who came forward, and his wife is a teacher, and he was really interested in championing this program. Unfortunately, as we all know, Bruce Guthrow had to step away. But before he did, he passed the baton over to Dave Gunning, who stepped up immediately to become the face of and we call it the Dave Gunning Zero Hunger campaign. And so we now are in the phase of seeding the fund, which means that we are raising funds. We want to open it for granting to schools. with a minimum of $100,000 in the fund. And we have spent the last few months going out to the general public, looking for donations, and the general public have been stepping up. It's been great. But now we're into the second phase of really trying to get some more serious funds. So now we're going out to corporations to also partner in this program and to get us to that goal of $100,000.
All right, I want to pick up a little more about the fundraising aspect of it and expansion of the program, because I know you're looking at specific parts of Nova Scotia Penny Day to be able to bring the program to. I want to shift it over to you, Dave Gunning, for now, because obviously we know about the importance of some of the aspects that Penny's talked about here in terms of being able to make sure that children are able to get lunches, be able to get the nourishment that they need. I was not aware, I will admit, that our late great friend Bruce Guthrow was involved in the program before you were. Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like in that transition period when you were approached by the Rural Communities Foundation and why you decided to pick up the baton here?
Yeah, well, Bruce actually approached me first and put me in touch with Penny. And, Bruce and I were good friends outside of the music thing. And we've had lots of deep discussions about things over the years and had a lot in common, a lot of shared passions. And I've always trusted Bruce, his gut instinct, intuition. And he, believed that this would be a good fit for me in light of the fact that he wasn't able to continue it on. He was getting weak, fighting with going through treatments and things. So I was in touch directly with Penny, and she explained it to me. And obviously tried to me about the cause too is different than the lunch program and the breakfast programs, and it's a really discreet way to help the students. Like oftentimes the teachers know which students are struggling, and they can discreetly take them by the hand, take them into a room, and show them a cupboard where there's food. And what's beautiful about this program is that they can bring some food back for their whole family. So it's not just a lunch program or a breakfast program. It's actually helping fight poverty within the homes. And it's a really discreet and direct channel to get food where it needs to be. And it's one of the missing pieces. And there's lots of other great programs, but there's nothing quite like this one. And when I heard about it, I was like, yeah, that's a no-brainer, and proud to be involved.
I want to ask you directly, Dave. Obviously, you're a family man as well, too. You have kids who are in the school system. What are you seeing, and what are your friends and neighbors seeing, not just around Pictou County, but across Nova Scotia and across the Maritimes in terms of the struggle that families are having now? I mean, we're in kind of a perfect storm here. We've got inflation that's been raging out of control for quite a while. Costs have gone up in the wake of the pandemic. Carbon pricing coming into effect across Canada, that has an impact on people in terms of gas prices and home heating oil. What's your sense in terms of how a program like this at this time is almost more necessary than it's ever been before? Talk about the need for it now.
I've got a pretty strong feeling that this could be the toughest winter we've had in a long time, for people in general, because of all the costs. And so things obviously haven't gotten easier over the years, and people were already having trouble making ends meet and not really able to either eat or stay warm, having to make a choice. And this is a necessary thing to help people.
Penny Day, the same question to you. What's the sense that you're getting about the immediate need for such a program as this right in the present time?
In 2022, they came out with a report, a child poverty report, that said that 1 in 6 children in Nova Scotia are below the poverty line. And that number came out, it really is a 2020 number, although the report was published in 2022. But we know that the situation has not got better. So I would say that number is getting closer to 1 in 5 children in Nova Scotia. And if you look at different communities, the poverty rate is much, much higher. So just recently, Nova Scotia was given an F rating in its poverty reduction ability. It's quite it was Food Bank Canada that put that report out. Quite a lot of different areas to look at in that report, but what the essential takeaway is that we're not meeting the needs of marginalized and poor people in Nova Scotia. And so, as Dave rightly says, there's many great programs out there, and we need all of those programs to help people fight food insecurity and poverty reduction. And so this one is just one more tool in the toolkit for people. And ever since we have come out, with the press releases and making it public that we're doing this program, we started it during the summer. So we had some information that came back to us from the schools, but of course the schools were closed. Now, since the schools have opened, we have been getting emails on a regular basis saying, when is this program opening? When can we apply for the funding? We desperately need it. And it's often accompanied with a story of some sort that tells us, and it just breaks my heart to read what these teachers are experiencing. And Dave's wife is a teacher, and Bruce Guthrow's wife is a teacher as well. And so they had that firsthand experience of buying extra granola bars at the grocery store. So bring them in to give food to kids. And so the need is so important. And so we just want to make sure that we're able to offer one of the solutions for this type of need.
Well, let's talk now a bit about building the program. You've mentioned about reaching out to corporations to be able to have the program be financially secure. Can you tell me a little bit about how individual schools can get involved? Because I understand that's a process that's going to take place over the next few months. What can you tell me about how schools specifically can get involved in this program?
For sure. So right now, as I said, we're in the fund seeding phase. So we haven't opened up the program to any applications yet. But what we will be doing is we will be working with the schools as well as the school health programs to make sure that all of the schools throughout Nova Scotia have access to applying for these funds. And as we know that there is the regular school system in Nova Scotia, and then we also have the French school system, but we also have the Mi'kma'ki school system as well. And we want to make sure that those schools too can apply for the funding. So there's a lot of work we have to do raising the funds. And then there's a lot of work to do to make sure that it's equitable application process. And we know that half of the school population is in HRM, and the other half of the population is spread all around Nova Scotia. But we know that the equity between groups, individuals in Nova Scotia, they can take a bus to go to the grocery store, they can take a bus to go to school, they have access to services that they need. In some of these rural communities, parents have to have a car. And we all know how expensive it is to own and operate a car, because if they don't have a car, they're not going to be able to get groceries themselves. There's school bus services available. That's great. But getting the services and supplies makes it much more expensive in some of these rural areas. So families suffer a lot in rural areas when they can't access the services that they need. And that's where we have to look at the balance between urban and rural schools and ensuring that everybody has equitable access to funds.
Even if somebody just wants to make a donation individually, or there may be a corporation out there that might be interested, or a business, or any level of the public sector, how do people get involved, essentially? I'll throw it to either of you. How can we get involved?
First thing I want to say is that Dave himself has stepped up significantly throughout. Whenever he's at his concerts, he makes sure that people are aware of the Zero Hunger Fund. It's available. And I always know when he has a concert, because the next day we get a flood of people donating. And so one way that people can donate is they can go to our website. So just Google, you can Google Dave Gunning Zero Hunger Fund, or you can Google Rural Communities Foundation of Nova Scotia. And right on there's a button on our page that says donate, and it will take you to all the different funds that you can donate to. Find the Dave Gunning Fund, and it will take you right to Canada Helps. And then you can apply through Canada Helps, and you get your tax receipt right away. Tax receipts are offered for donations of $10 and over. And so people can donate that way if they want to donate individually. But we're also, as I said, we're really leaning into corporations now. So I know a lot of times corporations do things like they raise money at the office, and they pool together funds that they've raised, and they can send us a check easy enough. And then, we also have fundraisers out there that are going to be contacting areas around, and we're particularly focused right now on the northern area of Nova Scotia. So the Pictou, Guysborough, Cape Breton area, so that just because we want to really do advertising, we want to do promotion in this area, so that when we go to a corporation, they probably have already heard about it. And then we'll go and start again pressing out towards the western and southern areas of Nova Scotia too in the coming months.
Dave, quickly shifting to you, Penny has mentioned there seems to be a real uptick of donations that come after one of your concerts. When you mentioned the Dave Gunning Zero Hunger Fund, how does that make you feel that people seem to be coming onto the message and listening to what you and the Rural Communities Foundation have to say?
Yeah, I mean, it leads me to the conclusion that there are a lot of people out there that want to help with a cause like this once they know about it. And I think people understand that there are lots of kids in schools that are struggling, and they're struggling at home. And this is an easy way to help.
Do either of you want to add anything else about all of this just before we wrap up here?
Well, I want to say thank you to Dave. Dave has really stepped up. He's also doing some private concerts where people purchase tickets, and 100% of those ticket sales are going to the Zero Hunger Fund as well. And he's, as I say, he's talking it up at his concerts, and just having somebody like Dave Gunning behind us, it really gives us the motivation to keep going. And also, we have teachers that we talk to on a daily basis, and even though we hear such bad news and things are struggling and people are struggling out there, every day people are stepping up and showing up to help. And I think that is something that is so wonderful about Nova Scotia, and so wonderful about Nova Scotians in general.
Dave Gunning, the last word goes to you.
Thanks, Adam, for having us on the show and helping us get the word out. And thanks, Penny, for all the great work. And let's keep it going.
All right, we'll do what we can there, and we thank the two of you for joining us for a roundtable here on Tailil Community Television. We've been speaking to Penny Day, the Executive Director of the Rural Communities Foundation of Nova Scotia, and Dave Gunning from Pictou, both by Zoom today. Stay tuned for more of Roundtable here on Tailil Community Television in just a moment. Should Richmond County churches qualify for funding from the municipality? That's a question that came up thanks to a request from the Calvin Presbyterian Church in Loch Lomond. It went to the Committee of the Whole meeting for Richmond Municipal Council that took place in Arishat on Monday night. And the discussion about whether Calvin Presbyterian Church should receive funding dovetailed with an earlier discussion that was held not all that long ago about whether St. Joseph's Catholic Parish in Isle Madame should receive funding from the municipality. Let's get the conversation started with Richmond Warden Amanda Mumbercat.
The first is a grant application from the Calvin Presbyterian Church for the Type 1 Infrastructure Grant Funds in the amount of $2,147.81. So the CFO has provided a a bit of a summary of, and this is included in the grant application in the meeting package. You know, it looks like the church has obtained quotes, is what I'm trying to say, from a source to kind of back up the amounts that they're requesting. I think we also have a sense of where we're at with the, in terms of our grant distribution. It has been a busy year. So are folks interested in supporting the grant application, or would you have a recommendation for an adjustment? Councillor Digdon?
Madam Warden, I was just going over some of our, excuse me, meetings in the past. I don't know if it falls under the same scenario, but I remember back last year, the St. Joseph's Parish was looking for a grant as well. And I just wonder, I know we had, there was concerns about not supporting a church. I just wonder if we're under the same, we supported them out of our district fund, however, we didn't want to support them through our.
I recall that conversation as well. I guess maybe what I would do, though, is maybe ask Troy or through you, Troy, to Jason. There's a charity return. Like, so this organization is it's a registered charity, it looks to me. So, but is it still an operating church?
Yeah, so it'd be similar to the application that we had received from St. Joseph's Parish a number of I think it was last year. It's the Calvin Presbyterian Church, and it looks like if you look at their information return, there's like a Canada branch. So I think it would be similar to basically we call it like the Diocese of Antigonish. So where churches fall underneath the diocese, this would be part of a Canadian Presbyterian Church group. Different business numbers, but still a not-for-profit group that's working in the local community, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, I can understand that. In light of that, I'd be more than willing to put $1,000 from my district fund towards this project. If council wants to put any more, great, and if not, I can do that at least.
Yeah. So, and I guess the other point is that the regional funds, I believe, were down. The amount remaining is close to the $10,000 mark, I believe. $81.95, right. So would open up for discussion if councillors feel that they would like to contribute from the regional fund as well.
I would not be interested in supporting from the general fund. I wasn't party to the conversation about the St. Joseph's Parish just because I had recused myself from that conversation. But barring that, if you look at their cash balances and investment balances, they do have some cash there, some accessible money that they could use towards the project. So I wouldn't be inclined to support it.
All right, then I guess at this point I'd be seeking a motion to approve $1,000 for the Calvin Presbyterian Church grant application for the Type 1 infrastructure grants and to be allocated fully from the District 5 fund.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Brent Sampson. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Any further discussion on that item? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. 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 Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried.
Here at the News Department of Taylil Community Television, we're currently working on securing interviews with 2 new staff members for Richmond Municipal Council. Clayton McMillan has become the new technology specialist for the county, and Danielle Martel is filling a brand new role that was created by Council earlier this year to spur community development. Martel is going to be Richmond County's official Community Development Project Coordinator. The 2 new staff members were introduced at the latest Committee of the Whole meeting for Richmond Municipal Council on Monday evening. Here is Richmond CAO Troy McCulloch to set things up.
It gives us great pleasure, and we were quite happy when Council agreed in the budget this year to allow a term position to bring Danielle in to help us with our community engagement and alignment with your strategic plan. Again, there's no sense having one of those documents if you're not going to turn it into action. And with your budget decision this year, you gave us that ability to hire this person who's going to be working under Shannon and trying to really move those strategic initiatives of the strategic plan forward and increase our engagement and interaction with the community groups within Richmond County. So that's going to be Danielle. You're going to probably see her again in December or January. Shannon and Danielle are working on how this rollout is going to look. You're probably already seeing some emails, if not, you will in the near future, of what our engagement sessions are going to look like in the new year. And Clayton McMillan has joined us from St. Peter's. He is our technology specialist. Thank you, so I get the term right. Clayton is already looking at the where are we stage with our servers, our systems. We have taken, it was so funny, we had the budget set last April or May with you guys on capital and the software, and he never saw those documents. And it's within hundreds of dollars that he came up with a plan that fits right within there. Now, the one thing we're not going to be able to do this year is end user improvements, because there's too much that needs to be done in the server room with security measures. So endpoint user upgrades will probably have to be pushed off to 24, 25, but we got to fix the backbone first before we do that and get the 365 transition going. So Clayton is working on the plan. Jason sat with us the other day to help us make sure we have things assigned to the right parts of the budget, and he's going to be working on purchase order soon to get that ready, so we're hitting the ground running in December.
Welcome to the both of you, and it's great to have you on board.
And we'll wrap up this week's edition of Roundtable with an update on a story we brought you earlier this fall about a potential increase in the deer population in Richmond County. Several municipal councillors, as well as Warden Amanda Mumberket, had reported some near misses in terms of drivers encountering deer along Richmond County roads. What to do about it? Well, the county has reached out to Nova Scotia's Department of Natural Resources and Renewables, and they've received a response. Here's Warden Amanda Mumberket to set things up and tell you what's going on with the county's conversations with DNRR.
It is regarding the item we had for discussion on the deer population in Richmond County. And so I believe we've gotten a response back to the message that had been sent out on that. And it came from Elizabeth Walsh with the province of Nova Scotia. I believe she's with DNRR. And she has, she's looking at potentially offering to set up a meeting with us as a council, or perhaps with staff, to better understand the concerns, because they do have, NRR does sometimes take an advisory role in municipal or community deer management if requested. So, obviously kind of talking about data collection there too. So I'm not sure, councillors, if you would want to take any action on this item, or if there's some next steps you'd like to recommend.
I would possibly just, if Miss Walsh is coming down, I would recommend she drives the West Arishat Loop. She has a better chance of not striking a deer as to if she drives the Discouche Rocky Bay, because anytime at this time at night, she will see anywhere between 6 to 20 driving in that area. So,
for sure. Thanks, Councillor Digdon. There definitely seems to be an uptick in the population. At this stage, I'm wondering if councillors would like to perhaps refer this back to staff to see if you could do an outreach to Ms. Walsh and see if she might be interested in having a deeper conversation on it, or if there are members of council who would like to participate in that conversation. I'm sure that'd be okay. CAO, maybe over to you on that.
And Madam Chair, there was a mention to coordinate with the MLA's office as well, so I think we'll take them up on that opportunity and see if there's a way to do something regionally with some of the other counties as well, and see what we can come up with here and help them get the information they need on the pellet program as well, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, CAO. It's all right. Okay, so councillors, are you okay with that, to just continue coordinating through staff? We've already got a motion in place for that, so I think we're okay. Okay, great.
And there you have it. That wraps up this week's edition of Roundtable here on Telil Community Television. Thank you for tuning in, and a special thank you to my interview guests this week, Dave Gunning and Penny Day. If you have any thoughts about what you've seen this week on Roundtable, or you'd just like to make suggestions for a future edition of the show, I'd love to hear them. You can contact me directly. My phone number is 902-625-8863, and you can reach me by email using the address adamjrcook, cook with an E, @gmail.com. You can also contact Talil Community Television directly with your thoughts and your suggestions. The station phone number in Arashat is 902-226-1928, and the best email address to use is talil@talil.tv. And as always, you can follow Talil on social media. We're on X, formerly known as Twitter, and we're also available on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. The Talil YouTube channel has every single episode of Roundtable, including this one, and you can also see individual segments and interviews from our shows. We offer the same service for our sister program, Talil 24/7, and on our YouTube channel you can see all the new French language journalism that's been produced by the newest member of the Talil news team, Jacqueline Giroir. For now, I'm Adam Cook. Thank you once again for joining me for this week's edition of Roundtable. I look forward to seeing you again next week with a brand new show. Bye for now.